Hey, Christine, it's so good to see you this morning on this beautiful Wednesday morning. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you, Tina?
Good, good, good. I am loving this series on blind spots. It's a six-part series, and we've already discussed two of the areas of leadership self-awareness, and we've been assessing ourselves. And so hopefully you've been joining in on this. If you haven't heard the last two podcasts, please jump in and listen to them. First, we talked about communication and assessing ourselves in that area. And then we talked about emotional intelligence and assessed ourselves in that area. But I also want you to think about today too, is how would your team assess you? You might assess yourself one way, but your team is probably going to assess you another way. Or how about your loved ones? That's even worse because they know you the best, right? So today our focus is on listening. And so this is going to be great because this is the one area, Christine, that I need to grow in the most, being a high D in the DISC assessment. High Ds don't listen very well. They like to tell, right? And so I'm going to give you guys the questions to assess yourself. Now, remember, rate yourself on a scale of 1 to 5. 1 is never, 2 is rarely, 3 is sometimes, 4 is often, 5 is consistently. So write this down. So number one, I listen to understand, not just to respond. So grade yourself on that from 1 to 5. The second one is I avoid interrupting others. Grade yourself on number 2. And then number 3, I seek input from team members before making important decisions. Grade yourself on that. And then lastly, number 4, people feel heard after conversations with me, which ties right back into communication that we talked about the
Hmm.
week as well. So let's unpack all four of these. So the
I
first
do
one,
think, Tina, this is such a great evaluation to give your team for you, right?
yeah, have them assess you. You might not like what you hear, though, because it might be all ones.
No, but
Just be open to the feedback, people. That's the whole thing is really just
so
knowing
true.
our blind spots, and we really don't know them always, right? And so depending on your personality style and how often you've assessed yourself or how often you've been assessed and so let's unpack the first one. Listen to understand, not just respond. For me, Christine, I was thinking about this because one thing I know is great leaders listen to understand, not to give advice or solve problems. And I have to tell you, I've got that fix-it personality. And if you were to ask my husband or my kids growing up and then my team, the old Tina, and I still kind of jump into this sometimes, is just to jump in with a solution. And that's the thing is high Ds on the personality scale tend to have solutions very fast and don't understand why someone can't come up with a solution. But I have learned over the years, especially with my high Cs and my high S's, Christine, that I've got to give them time. And I just have to really sit back and just allow them to speak and keep drawing out things out of them and give them an opportunity because it might be a 24-hour thing. Like yesterday, I was on a call and I want to get this system in one of my businesses like yesterday. Okay, because I'm a ready, fire, aim kind of person. But my team members, my leaders are ready, aim, 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 aim. And
They're
it's
more
like, oh
cautious.
my God, fire this, right? And so all they're thinking about is all the reasons why it won't work. And all I can think about is the reasons why it will. And I have to tell you, it's a good to have like a balance in between. And so sometimes I just have to like sell something to my team in order for them to like really buy into it. And I
Mhm.
know that now. I used to be really frustrated. And now I know it, and I've been able to slow down, get a little bit calmer. My team will tell you she's not. They probably grade me really bad on this. So how about you? How'd you grade yourself on this?
Well, I think I think I could always use work on listening. I've gotten much better like you over the years because I was too a fix-it person and I always wanted to give them the answers. But I do realize that allowing them the time to think through things and come up with their own decisions is much better. I think they'll own the problem and the solution if I wait
Yeah.
and I'm more patient.
Yep. Yep.
So I don't want to have all their problems.
Yeah, and I love um about asking questions too. And I know that's something you've taught us this over the years of really put your curious hat on. And I was coaching a salon owner yesterday on this, and I told her, I said, just put your curious hat on because I know you just want to jump in. And she's a manager of all of her team as well. And you just want to jump in and give answers right away because you just want to fix it right away. And I said, just put your curious head on and start to come up with better questions. And so for you, Christine, and this would be great advice for her too, how do you come up with better questions? Like, what is your model, so to speak, on that?
I mean, I think AI is some of the best
Yeah.
tools right now.
Hmm.
Um, And I think if you put your problems in there and you talk about, like, if you're using DISC, let's say, and you're talking and you know the personality type that you're dealing with, I would use AI to put that personality type in there and your personality type and ask, I really want to come up. And I would also ask the questions based on your values because you want to teach. I think AI about who you are and who you are at your core and what your core beliefs are so that the questions are based more around what you value. So my AI, of course, knows all of my values because I'm always talking to it, but I think that's important. And I think um, for me, it's a practice. I've been really focused on asking questions for 20 years, and recently I hired a new coach because I'm always seeking, like you, Tina, to hire people and grow and grow and grow. And one of the things I realized is I got to get better at asking more questions because
Yeah.
although I thought I was asking questions, I was used to asking questions to my team. But now, because I'm training a leadership team, I really have to become better at asking them questions and and leading them and training them to ask the question. So see, it's like handing off that hat.
So true. The multiplication is critical, right? So as we learn this process, and I've always said to myself, never tell what you can ask, never tell what you can ask. And I just continue to tell myself that over and over. And but yet I still jump into it and I catch myself and I'm like, whoa, 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 okay, let me back up through this process too. So just slow down. I think that's the biggest thing here, biggest piece of advice I try to give leaders. Let's jump into number two. I avoid interrupting others. A high D, I mean, and a high I, right? On the disc, they're just like
Our
interrupters,
discs are the same. So I
interrupters.
would have the same problem.
Yep, interrupters. And so I love this because interrupting can unintentionally communicate that our ideas matter more than someone else's. And I was like, as soon as I read that, I thought, oh yeah, like that is not honoring. That's not connecting. I don't know what you do, Christine, but I try to be the last person to speak.
Well, it's interesting that you say that because I had a team meeting and my last team meeting, and they told me it was the best team meeting that we ever had. And do you want to know? I didn't talk. I just asked questions. the whole time.
Beautiful.
And they really honestly told me it was the best team meeting they had ever had. And I was like, okay, well, that sure is enlightening. So
Yeah.
there you go.
Oh yeah, I always know like when I'm not connecting is when I'm doing all the talking, Christine, and it's a meeting and I'm just thinking, oh my gosh, like they're like sleeping or whatever. You're in the room in a meeting and I'm thinking, oh man, I need to really get better at this. And so it's almost like just visually zipping my lips, you know what I mean? And so as I think about, because I so bad want to jump in. So what I'm doing now, Christine, is I'm writing a note, a quick note. And ironically, it seems to get solved where I don't even have to bring up that note too, like you were saying. And so it's definitely an area I need to get better at for sure. And I also love this point is patience in conversations builds respect, trust, and psychological safety. And I have to say, the area that I've been really honing in on in all my companies, all nine of them, Christine, is safety, that word,
Mm,
safety. And the reason why I know that I don't have it with many of my team members is because they don't bring problems to me
mhm.
like I would like them to. It's always like kind of too late by the time it's brought. And so that's an area. And I think just avoiding interrupting others, I'll be getting on target meetings here pretty quick. And I'm going to do everything I can to not do all the talking,
Mhm.
right? And continue to think of really great questions to be able to ask them so that they can continue to so I can really hear and they can come up with their own solution. You know, I've always said, okay, the answer's within, right? Answer's
Yeah,
within.
it is. It is for sure.
So good. Let's go to number three. I seek input from team members before making important decisions. How do you do on that, Christine?
I definitely, this is something I think that I'm really working on. But I definitely will say out of all of these, it's probably one that I probably pay attention to the most. I do get input from my team. I probably would do this to a fault. I probably get too much input that sometimes it's more detrimental than helpful.
True. Yeah. I've seen that happen in my companies too.
Yeah. So I think
Yeah.
that I am working working in my business right now. I was talking to Tina before we started, is I'm going back to the basics of redefining my values in my company. And what I'm noticing about this particular one, the number three, is I'm asking, when we have our values set up and we know what we are at our core, we really don't need to ask important decisions based on our values sometimes. And I think that is what I mean by, if education or advancement is in my DNA and it's in my company, I don't need to ask questions about how I want people to behave around this particular area. It is what so I think we have to be really careful. And I know for me, I had to be really careful in this area about understanding like what really annoys me and makes me mad when it comes to people not aligning with my values, because then
Yeah.
you know what I mean. So I think this is an interesting one because I do definitely seek input from my team, but I've had to understand the boundaries of when.
Yeah. Yeah, that's so good. And if salon owners don't have systems already set up around this, like this is how we do things around here, salon
Mhm.
standards, because I'm coaching
Yeah,
salon owners right now, and there's nothing in writing. And I'm like, well, you can't enforce something that's not in writing, so let's work on that. And what we did in our company, Christine, and we still continue to do this. It's not like, you graduate from this because you have to
no.
adapt and change, right? Is start to think about what are your non-negotiables. And so we built out like this, almost like a covenant. We will always. And
Mhm.
so we had like 10 things on
So
it.
good.
And but that was 10 years ago. And so some things have shifted,
That's
right?
what
We're like,
happened to
yeah,
us.
that's not
Mhm.
important anymore. And so we shifted and decided. So it's really important to always relook at them and say, is this important anymore? And I think people that do have systems relook at them together. And that goes back to the ownership and commitment, like you were saying. And so obviously, if it's something like we have a value of love, if you don't love people, then you don't belong here. And that's a non-negotiable for life. Like you're done. You know what I mean? And so we know that. And also one of our non-negotiables is staying humble and coachable. You either grow or you got to go. Like that's a non-negotiable for life. There's some things that like dress code that we changed. We shifted those areas and because it wasn't for today, And so we talked about that and we said, you know what, our partners and our leaders aren't able to follow through with this commitment. So we're going to go ahead and shift this commitment and be okay
Mhm.
with it. And so you have to really kind of decide as a team. And so, yeah, I love that. Seeking input from team members before making important decisions. What exactly is that input that you're trying to get? Let's do the last one. Number four, people feel heard after conversations with me. Sounds like that happened really well in your last meeting. That was the best meeting we ever had. That's good.
Yeah. Yeah. And so I think for this one, um, where this bullet point says people do not always need agreement, but they need acknowledgement and understanding.
Yeah,
And I think that is true because we aren't always going to agree.
right.
Like it's just we're not always going to agree. I might see something different. However, our value of what we value, if we always bring it back to our value of the client experience and our values, I think we can find some line of agreement,
Yeah.
like and understanding. So I'm really doing this work for 27 years on values. I'm still seeing how important this is in this, what we're talking about today, in the whole listening and understanding is, does the team, are we listening and understanding how the values are showing up in every behavior and every single thing that we do within our culture and our companies? Like
Yeah.
that is, it's an interesting question. Is it really happening?
It is. And, it's funny you bring this up because this was why I do all of the leadership training with the brand new protege in our salons because the people that are going to see it the most are the new people, if it's working or not working. And so I kind of get a different bird's eye view through their eyes of what's happening by re-looking at the systems, right? And then just listening for maybe what they're not saying about that as well. And
Yes.
ironically, what we brought out, this is so amazing, is one of our protege, because I love this quote, team members who feel heard communicate more openly and bring concerns forward sooner. Well, I realized that we hadn't built that psychological safety with one of our brand new
Hmm.
protege yet. And she's been with us for 6 months. Okay. And so we've been doing these protege meetings. Well, somehow, some way, questions that we had asked on that call drew out that she felt we weren't following the sanitation procedures like they do in our schools because she's a graduate of our school.
Oh,
So they're very lax in the salon on certain items, right? And so she brought, and I'm like, oh my gosh, thank you so much for bringing this to our attention. I would love for you to take this on. I realize there's really no written system for this. And you made me realize, and again, it's my fault because there's no written system.
yeah.
I'm responsible for all written systems in our company. And so if it's not written down, it's not a system. I'm like, there's nothing in writing. It's all in our head. No wonder why it got watered down. And so I said, would you mind helping us to redevelop, and she got so excited. And then she went in and she ended up cleaning the whole salon and organizing the back room because it was driving her crazy for 6 months, Christine. And the team just was like, "Oh my gosh, thank you, thank you, thank you." Like they were so happy that
Uh,
she did that. And so now I can't wait to kind of like hear how she's doing through that. And I feel like I kind of built a little bit more safety with her in that moment.
yeah, yeah, that's so good because you just really acknowledged how important her thoughts were, which, especially I think that's important for anybody in our company is like if they have something to say, how do we respond? Do we respond as we know it all, or do we respond as,
It's like, oh,
I
no,
think
we're
you
fine.
saying,
We're fine. Yeah. Yeah,
yeah,
no,
are
we're
you
not.
saying thank you? Like, can you imagine, that just having a leader say thank you is really amazing. So great job, Tina.
Yeah, I love that. And I think, I think as we close this out is, how can you be more involved in with the people in the trenches in your company, even if you're not
Mhm.
in your business all the time? And so I'm never in my businesses, right? I basically work from home, I travel, and I never am. So it's trying to be that outside coach, right? And so the salon owners that I work with mostly are in the trenches, but they're trying to get out of the trenches. They're trying to get away from being behind the chair in their business 24/7. And I know, Christine, you're the same as me.
Mhm.
And so as we work through this, how can you really get to the front line people as you start to build your business and scale your business and grow your business? And lastly, the question that I want to ask as we start to close this out is if you asked your team today, would they agree with you on all of these statements?
Yeah, I
Why
think
or
my
why
team
not?
would, they would definitely agree that it was the best staff meeting they ever had when I didn't talk.
Amazing. Yes, it's like almost write down, don't talk, don't talk, don't talk. Next week I have a big meeting with training with all of our staff next Tuesday. Christine, I'm gonna write that down on my paper. Just shut your mouth.
Ask questions.
Yep.
Yeah, so I would definitely like to leave off with this is how can you create a value of questions? Like how can you create um a way for you to always be asking questions? Like just almost just create this habit
Yeah.
around being, I know for me, it's very hard for me to be specific. I could be very vague. And when you're vague, you leave a lot of things on the table.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so,
Mhm.
being
Good.
specific is really important. Being clear is really important. So, how can you be more specific and more clear with your questions so that you're seeking to understand more?
Yeah. This is an art, the art of listening, people.
It is definitely.
All
Oh,
right.
thank you so much, Tina. It was
So
so good to
good.
see you today.
Yeah. Thanks for joining us, everyone.